Hello, it's Soul, and I'm going to bring up a bit of a discussion topic, or maybe a response, to yesterday's bombshells that make up a good chunk of the upcoming 9.0.5 patch. You may know by now that Valor points are coming back, but not in quite the way that you think. Valor has been repurposed to sort of reflect the more successful PvP gearing system in Shadowlands, and this is going to apply to Mythic Plus dungeons. Now this is very early information, but based on what we know so far, the gear that drops from dungeons can be upgraded to certain levels using Valor, which is obtained from a variety of sources, which is, well, okay, it's basically just the dungeons and Covenant callings. As for how high they can be upgraded, it depends on whether we timed keys of certain levels. It starts at completing 5s in every Shadowlands Mythic Plus dungeon, and then 10s, and then finally 15s to let us upgrade Mythic Plus gear to the highest levels via Valor. The rest of the details are sort of scarce. They're incomplete and they're up to iteration, but that's kind of the gist of it. I'm not going to get super specific. While personally, I find clearing 15s of every dungeon pretty hard to do because I haven't done any of that yet, this is something that I can still accept, considering that I can grind away at this at the start of the season, as opposed to, say, raiding, which you can only basically work at once a week. And so that's going to be the topic for today, comparing this upcoming system to raiding, because while Blizzard is aware of the problems with loot in raids, patch 9.05 is going to ignore this for now. Now, before I get to bloviating, I'm going to say this. No, I really think that there is something Blizzard can do about the loot in raids sooner rather than later, at the risk of alienating an arguably smaller but very outspoken chunk of players who, like everyone else, just wants to have their fun, and that for now they should consider just making more loot drop. Here's what Ian said with regard to gearing in raids. Raid gearing needs to help too, but the static nature of raid loot tables complicates mid-tier solutions. We want to get dungeon improvements out ASAP as we continue to discuss the right approach for other gear sources like raiding and world content. World content which won't be a part of this video. Now, to be fair, we're accustomed to seeing a 0.1 patch and not a 0.0.5 patch as the first significant patch of a expansion. We're at around the middle of the season, and it would feel very strange to introduce another system of progression in raids as if we just started the raid. I wouldn't want to see Blizzard basically waste time propping up a currency, balancing the rates, when there's a high likelihood it won't work the same way in the next season, because maybe there are going to be fewer or more bosses next time, or multiple raids, and there might be tier sets and other bonuses to consider, and so much more. It's just more to fuss over that's only going to last over a few months. On the other hand, Mythic Plus is still going to be Mythic Plus next season, even if they were to add a dungeon or something, so now is the time to develop something for us to look at on the PTR and dissect it and talk smack like we are right now, and so on and so forth. In a few short months, we're going to move on from Castle Nathria and on to the next thing, and I would rather see a proper system be developed with the future in mind. But doing nothing in patch 9.05 and 9.1, which is going to be from March to whenever, it's a pretty bad idea. There are in fact players who just raid and they detest Mythic Plus. That was me throughout all of Battle for Azeroth. And while it's practical to consider farming for gear outside of your wheelhouse in order to gear faster, or to optimize your stats, there's a certain, I guess, gear income that ought to be met, and without any changes, raiding in Season 1 of Shadowlands is certainly going to feel like a memorable disappointment. PvP has a path to obtain gear via vendor. Upgrades through an NPC, and this can be done very quickly for some, and reasonably to fairly quickly for most others. Mythic Plus promises to deliver a similar experience, but raiding runs off of mostly hope that the item drops, or hope that if the item drops for someone else on the team that they can trade it to you. You know, it's a little rub against the whole item level restriction trading thing. And the hope that in the following week, after perhaps not getting any drops, that on the first day of the new week, your vault has something for you that is not a duplicate, and that is of value. The horror stories are out there, and you may have your own. Of course, in the wave of discourse, Blizzard might come to their senses or bow under pressure, whatever makes you feel better, and go right ahead with making a PvE currency upgrade something or other for 9.0.5. But back to what I said earlier, I think that for now, Blizzard should not waste time doing that. But for now, just temporarily revert the drop rates to previous levels for the remainder of the season for a number of reasons. First, that it's been the loudest outcry since Season 1 began. And hearing people say, lol, Blizzard finally listened is much better than, lol, Blizzard never listened. Now I get why Blizzard did this in the first place. With only one version of gear, it also happens to be the best version of said gear. Personally, I don't buy into the notion that players are going to get their best in slot super fast and then unsub. I don't really buy into that mindset. Like my team, we just end up moving on to alt runs again and again and again. But raids have 4 difficulties and a weekly lockout. Meanwhile, Mythic Plus and PvP do have weekly limitations, but they have far more increments of scaling difficulty and give opportunities to develop more than just one boss per week. Whatever Blizzard does decide to come up with, and I'm going to make a little suggestion in a little bit, the least that they could do, at least in 9.05, or maybe as soon as now, is to first raise drop rates through a hotfix. And then 2, explain that this is only a temporary band-aid, like, they'll be like, hey guys, we hear ya. This is what we'll do for now because it's mid-season, and here's what we have in mind for raids in the next season. Maybe now, right now is too soon, but BlizzConline is in just a bit over a week, and they might be saving the news for then. But I feel pretty strongly that given how far we are into the season, what's ahead, and what's in store, really, what harm would raising drop rates really do? Maybe a lot, and I'm not seeing it. I just think it's better than nothing, right? So what would help mirror the same kind of progression that we're seeing in PvP? And soon in Mythic Plus. Here's where I get to speculate with an idea to get you thinking about it, not because I think this is going to be great, just to kind of get the gears turning, right? Frankly, I don't see the PvP or Mythic Plus system being mirrored necessarily because raiding is just different. It's a single series of encounters, but the player sentiment has been clear that they like vendors and upgrades, so how can this work? The thought that I have is gear drops from a raid can be upgraded one time by 7 item levels, or basically from one difficulty to the next, LFR to normal, normal to heroic, yada yada yada. This can be upgraded through justice points. Yeah, we're gonna just have another currency again, which, just like Valor, will be earned from raid boss kills and Covenant callings. It has a maximum cap that goes up every week and so on and so forth. This upgraded item level is going to ignore the normal item level budget made available in a season in an effort to address item level bloat, which would make Mythic gear considerably stronger than anything else that you can get, so I'm sure that I'm going to get a few nasty comments below. Also, this obviously doesn't address the rate at which loot drops, but it does give some value to the loot that you've been receiving. From the looks of it, that's going to be how Mythic Plus is going to work too. You still need the gear to drop, and then you can upgrade it. And with only one upgrade level, players won't exactly feel forced to farm every difficulty at once. Now this is just a thought, alright? It's just a foundation to maybe get you thinking, but back to the point of this video, something should be done either now or in 9.05, and temporarily bumping up drop rates is the way to go. I'm glad that Ian went out and communicated their concerns, however, I think that there's more that they can do. And that's the video. So like and subscribe to help the channel out, and we'll see you next time. Until then, stay safe, stay healthy, and stay breezy.